wake up every morning under the delusion of liberty, convinced that the path you tread is paved by your own intent? Do you truly believe that your choices are the fruit of your own sovereign will? It is time to cast off that infantile slumber. The world is not a playground of virtue. It is a vast, cold workshop where every man is either the carpenter's sharpest tool or the discarded shavings on the floor. To gaze upon the world through the lens of moral hypocrisy is the quickest path to ruin. One must see men as they truly are: ungrateful, fickle, false, cowardly, and covetous. The ruler does not seek to change this ignoble nature. He simply masters the art of navigating it. Look at them, the masses, the vulgar who are always taken by appearances and the final outcome of things. You are currently being maneuvered by strings woven from your own appetites, your secret fears, and an ignorance that others have carefully cultivated within you. The master manipulator knows your vulnerabilities better than you know your own reflection. In this grand design, there is no middle ground, no neutral safety. You are either the architect who drafts the blueprint of the game, or you are merely the brick and mortar used to build the monument of another man's ambition. The strings are already attached. The only question that remains is whether you will finally learn to see them before they pull you into the abyss.
Do not confuse the clumsy efforts of a beggar with the refined craft of a prince. Persuasion is for those who ask. Manipulation is for those who take without the vulgarity of force. It is a subtle intrusion into the autonomy of another, an invisible maneuvering that steers the mind while leaving the body in the illusion of freedom. To rule, one must be a fox to recognize the snares and a lion to terrify the wolves. The master manipulator does not break the will. He replaces it with his own, leaving no marks, no scars, and no rebellion. The most perfect manipulation is achieved when the victim is led to believe they are acting freely, following the dictates of their own sovereign will. Consider the tools of the trade. First, gaslighting, the art of distorting reality until the target doubts their own senses. You do not need to steal a man's property if you can first steal his confidence in his own perception. Once he cannot trust his mind, he has no choice but to trust yours. Next, the silent treatment, a calculated withdrawal of affection designed to create a painful vacuum. Silence is a weapon that forces the victim to fill the void with their own desperation and eventual submission. We begin with love bombing, a deluge of intense, immediate affection designed to create total dependency. We grant them the hope of being special, a drug more potent than gold. Once the addiction is set, we transition to devaluation. We become critical, distant, and dismissive. The target, now a starving wretch, will kneel and surrender any scrap of their dignity just to catch a single drop of the validation you once gave them for free. Why is the human animal so easily led to the slaughter? Because men are inherently ungrateful, fickle, and above all, covetous of what they lack and terrified of losing what they hold. We do not seek to change this ignoble nature. We simply find the knot in the soul, that secret vulnerability, that hidden greed, or that unquenchable fear, and we tighten it. Vulnerability is born from the desire for shortcuts and the refusal to face the brutal cold of reality. The manipulator does not create the target's hunger. He merely presents his goal as the only feast in town. As long as men prioritize their appetites over their reason, they will continue to be the raw material for those who possess the iron will to lead them. Imagine standing upon the summit of your own ambition, looking down upon the vulgar masses who are always taken by appearances and the immediate outcome of things. While they are swept away by the currents of their own petty passions, you remain unmoved. By mastering the geometry of human behavior, You possess a shield forged in cold reality. You no longer react to the world. You anticipate it. You become invincible because you see the snare before the fox has even laid it, recognizing that most men are ungrateful, fickle, and cowardly by their very design. Mastery is not found in the avoidance of the game, but in the absolute clarity of its rules. He who understands the real truth of the matter, rather than the imagination of it, is the only one fit to hold the heights. You are no longer a participant in their chaos. You are the observer of their predictable ruin. Waste no breath attempting to reform the world or elevate the morality of the common man. Such a path is the shortest road to your own destruction. Instead, use the world as it is. Manipulation is the art of the pragmatist. It is the sword of direction. A wise prince does not fight the current of human nature. He simply diverts the river. You lead the greedy with the promise of gold, and hold the terrified with the threat of the void. You do not force them to march. You simply make your path the only one that satisfies their base appetites. Never try to change human nature. Simply learn to navigate the greed and fear of others. For a prince who wishes to maintain his state must learn how not to be good, and to use that knowledge, or not use it, according to the necessity of the case. Even a lion must know where the wolf's territory begins. There is a golden rule of dominion that the foolish ignore to their own peril. Never touch a man's property or his dignity unless you intend to erase him from the earth entirely. Men will endure your laws, your wars, and even your cruelties, provided their purses remain heavy and their pride remains intact. To wound a man's self-esteem is to create an enemy who will wait a lifetime for your one moment of weakness. To take his gold is to ensure he never sleeps until your throat is cut. A prince must above all things keep his hands off the property of others, because men will sooner forget the death of their father than the loss of their patrimony or their self-esteem. Injuries should be done all at one stroke, so that, being tasted less, they offend less, but benefits should be given little by little, so that the flavor of them may last longer. If you must strike, strike so effectively that the victim cannot seek revenge.
This knowledge is not a sanctuary for the weak, nor is it a lullaby for those who prefer the imagination of things over the real truth of the matter. If you seek a world painted in the soft hues of a pink-colored delusion, turn back now. This path is reserved for the few who dare to look directly into the abyss of human depravity and compel that abyss to bow before their will. To master the art of subtle control does not make you a villain. It transforms you into the only awakened soul in a meadow filled with sleeping sheep. In a world where the many are not good, he who insists on goodness in all things invites his own swift destruction. You have not learned how to be cruel. You have learned how not to be a victim. If you are finally ready to shed the brittle shell of the pawn and assume the mantle of a true player, enter into our covenant. Join this assembly of the enlightened. We do not gather to celebrate malice, but to master the necessity of survival. Do not waste your life waiting for the fickle favors of fortune, for fortune is a woman, and she must be mastered with audacity and iron resolve. Create your own destiny through the fusion of wisdom and power. Let your enemies fear your silence more than your words. The strings of the world are hanging before you. It is time you decided which ones to pull. The game has already begun, and the clock is ticking against your ignorance. The only question that remains is this: will you be the one who directs the play,
or the one who merely follows the script? Choose your position.